Good evening and very warm welcome to you folks. Thank you for joining us here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. It's our episode 179 for the year, episode 3 for season 8. And tonight, a very, very special episode because it's all about Geelong Galaxy. It's our first club-themed episode for the year. And Geelong Galaxy, one of 3 clubs that have jumped on board to support the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. My name is Tonchi Prusak. I'm going to be with you for the next 60 minutes. We're going to have some great guests lined up for you during the course of the next 60 minutes, plus also a roundup of all the weekend's action. We had a lot of football happening in the VPL, the VPLW. We also had the Doherty Cup as well. A heap of games happening over the course of the weekend. So, folks, strap yourself in for a big show tonight. It's the Geelong Galaxy-themed club episode tonight. But there's also a lot of other football going on as well. So don't go away. The news desk coming right up after these short commercial breaks.
The world is yours. So work hard and you can have whatever it is you want.
Well, we start this week's news desk with the Victorian Premier League women's competition. It was round 2 and Geelong Galaxy United came up against Clifton Hill up at Myers Reserve yesterday. Unfortunately, Galaxy lost to Clifton Hill 2-0. And the result sees Galaxy drop to 7th position on the ladder after 2 games with a 1-win, 1-loss record and a -1 goal difference. Tonight we'll be catching up with the president of the Geelong Galaxy United Football Club, AARON PETTMAN, the coach of the head coach of the senior women's team, JAKE Butler, and we'll also be speaking to a player from the senior team as well as a players rep, Monica D'Alessandro. That's a little bit later on in tonight's show. But as we see there, the results of the games played game played yesterday. We saw Geelong Galaxy moving now to 7th position. This weekend, the Galaxy are at home for their 3rd straight home game against Melbourne University, who currently are in the bottom spot. They are have gone 2 games, 2 losses, not yet to score a goal, and have got a -9 goal difference at the moment as we speak. In the men's competition, we've got North Geelong. North Geelong lost to Manningham United 1-3. Angus Chapman scoring a late goal in the 83rd minute. And no, pardon there. Port Melbourne Sharks is the next team that the North Geelong Warriors will come up against. And just like the Galaxy, they are the bottom place team, having won none of their 5 games, their opening 5 games, drawing 1 and losing 4. So they are currently in 14th spot. The Warriors are in 6th position. That game at Port Melbourne's Struck Steel Stadium, which was once upon a time known as Anderson Reserve. That game kicking off at 3 p.m. this weekend. There were some Australia Cup games played over the weekend. round 3. Unfortunately for the majority of the Geelong sides, it ended in defeat. Brimbank Stallions defeated Corio 3-0. Deakin Ducks lost to Westvale Olympic 5-0. Geelong lost to Layla United after scoring 3-3 in regulation time. It was 5-4 after penalties. Ross Gunn, Ross Irving and Lockie Harper scoring the goals there for Geelong. And Surf Coast was the only team that was able to get any result. They defeated Old St Kevin's 3-0, goals by Milo Mullins-Gange, Anthony Thomas and Jack Corrigan. We do have some footage of that game played courtesy of the Surf Coast Football Club. It certainly augurs well for a great year for Surf Coast Football Club. Having enjoyed 2 promotions in the previous 2 seasons, can they make it 3 in a row? Their State League season will kick off this weekend. And looking at the Australia Cup fixtures in round 4, there are 2 Geelong teams left, Surf Coast being one of those teams. They've got a winnable game against State League 3 opposition side Sunbury United, and that game will be at Banyul Warrior Reserve, or these days it's known as New Flow Stadium. And that will be on Easter Saturday, Saturday the 4th of April. Also, North Geelong Warriors will come up against State League 1 side Old Scotch Soccer Club. The details, including the kickoff times, are yet to be confirmed, and that they will be confirmed no doubt in coming weeks. But both those games will be held on Saturday the 4th of April. Nike FC action kicks off this weekend with 2 Geelong sides involved. Now, there's a bit of a spelling mistake there, a typo on our slide, so apologies. Barwon does come up against Dandenong City, and that will be at Grovedale Reserve at 1 p.m. this Saturday, early game. And at Deakin University, also at 1 o'clock, it's Deakin Ducks taking on Nunawading City, but that is on the Sunday. So that is on Sunday at 1 p.m, Deakin Ducks taking on Nunawading City. And on Saturday, Barwon taking on Dandenong City at Grovedale Reserve at 1 p.m. As we mentioned earlier, the State League kicks off. State Leagues kick off for the men's competition this Saturday, this weekend, in fact. And in State League 1 action, Geelong hosts Upfield SC at Winslow Park with kickoff at 6 p.m. In State League 2, this is the division that will have a lot of interest for Geelong, the Geelong football community, with 3 Geelong clubs in State League 2. Geelong Rangers will host FC Strathmore up at Myers Reserve at 3 p.m. Corio travels to JT Gray Reserve in Williamstown for a 3 p.m. showdown with Williamstown. And then Surf Coast is at home to Albion Rovers at New Flow Stadium. Kickoff there is at 5 p.m. Now, next week, it will be a special Surf Coast themed club episode podcast. And so we will have some footage from that game, and we'll also have some interviews with hopefully the president there, Brett King, the coach of the senior men's team, Adrian Bate, and also a representative of the Surf Coast senior women's team as well, whether it's coach Steve Christou or one of the players. But that is next Monday, so don't miss that show, folks. State League 4 action sees Bell Park host Melbourne University at the Bell Park Sports Club. That game kicking off at 6 p.m. And Bell Park, unlike last year when there were, 4 teams in State League 4, 4 Geelong teams in State League 4. This year, due to the restructure, Bell Park is the only Geelong team in State League 4. In State League 5, we've got 2 Geelong clubs in the newly formed State League 5 Northwest Division. Deakin Ducks are at home to Bendigo City, and that game at Warm Ponds campus kicks off at 3 p.m. And for that reason, the Deakin Ducks women will be playing their Nike FC Cup game on the Sunday, not on the Saturday. Meadow Park take on Lara United. That game's at Gladstone Park, and that's at 3 p.m. And finally, 2 teams in the newly formed State League 6 Northwest Division. Ocean Grove are at home to West Point at Shell Road Reserve at 3 p.m. And then the Glenroy Lions will be taking on Barwon Soccer Club at Wallace Reserve at 3:15 p.m.
Books. For some clients, we process their payroll, accounts, and invoicing every week. For other clients, we check their data entry and reconcile their accounting software to their bank statement before lodging their quarterly BAS. We set up new accounting software files and train clients how to use them. We work with clients across varied industries, from hospitality to construction to disability support to professional services and tradies. As we have a team of bookkeepers, we can offer uninterrupted service to our clients. Our preferred method of bookkeeping is using Dext and Xero. J Hill Books is a Xero Gold partner and a registered BAS agent. One important message we would like to convey right now is that from July 1st, 2026, Payday Super is coming. This means all employers need to pay super on the same day they pay their wages. This will have a huge impact on cash flow for employers, and they need to start preparing for this now. Please get in touch if we can help you with this transition. Visit our website at www.jhillbooks.com.au or contact us on 0402 469 243.
Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast, and our first guest of the show for tonight is the new president, or the newly appointed president of Geelong Galaxy United, AARON PETTMAN. AARON, welcome to the show.
Tonch, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Now, first of all, let me take this opportunity just to thank you on behalf of the club, to thank you and everyone at Geelong Galaxy, because Galaxy was the first club to really come out and support us this year, the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. So we thank you so much for that.
It's important.
Yeah, and it's also the first club episode podcast. So, mate, you've got the rare, I guess, accolade, if you like, for want of a better word, of having been one of, if not the only person in Geelong that I can think of that has been president of 2 clubs. You were a previous president of Lara United, and now Geelong Galaxy. First of all, congratulations on that. I'm not too sure if there's anyone out there listening that is aware of anyone else, but that's quite a rare feat. And, mate, how would you compare running the 2 clubs? Because they're 2 vastly different clubs.
Well, that's right. That's right. And I think that's why, I decided that I'd step into that role when it became vacant, because, Galaxy in itself is quite a unique club, being only a female-only club. And, when you've got daughters and you participate, I was coaching for a few years now with Ryan and come across and coached last year. So, the 2 clubs are very, very different. One's a sort of a high performance sort of, elite sort of style of interaction with players and what their expectations and standards might want to their standards are. Whereas, Lara was a very much a community-based club. We still had that endeavour when we were there to grow the club and your pursuit of excellence and that sort of stuff is still the same. But
I'm intrigued. Do you approach it in the same way, in the same manner, or like I dare say at Lara United, you had a lot of volunteers, a lot of people that do it. It's a community club, and that's what it is. Yeah. And even though the scope of things are so much bigger, attracting volunteers is always hard, no matter where you are. But at Galaxy, as you said, it's a high performance, so it's not necessarily quantity you're after quality. And so do you approach it as the leader of the off-field administration in a slightly different way?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely have to look at things from a different perspective. And, there's some there are some similarities, like where it's a football club, it needs to be managed and administrated. But from that perspective of that sort of elite stuff, you're always looking for different ways to be creative and introduce programs, maybe, or whether it be, high performance training or coaching, strength and conditioning, sports psychology, and that sort of stuff, which is very, very different to a community-based club. You wouldn't be looking at that type of thing. So from that perspective, it is very, very different.
Now, we're only week 2 of the season, of the Victorian Premier League women's season. Unfortunately, not the result today, 2-0 against a tough Clifton Hillside. But last week was a great performance. So it's one win, one loss at the moment for the seniors. But let's turn our attention now to the juniors, because the juniors are doing really, really well, the 13s, the 15s and the 17s. Tell us a bit about their season.
Well, so far, our juniors and that whole system is flying. That football department have done a really, really good job at looking after those kids for the last few years. We've had a really great, successful trial period where we've introduced a few kids from other clubs, but retained quite a number of our own, which is great. But so far, the under-13s, they haven't lost a game as yet. The under-17s haven't lost a game as yet. And the under-15s are pretty close to top 4 position as well. So, all the teams are relative sort of second. The 13s and 17s are anyway. The 15s, unfortunately, had a loss yesterday against a pretty formidable sort of Preston. But the under-17s are very, very strong. They're going to be very difficult to beat this year, those girls. But
is it fair to say, outside of the NPLW competition, that Geelong Galaxy United are probably the best performing junior side?
I would think so, yeah. I definitely would think so. I think that if you look at the results so far, for those 3 outfits, it was really great a few weeks get back to sort of have 3 wins against Football Victoria, their FE side. That they sort of seem to be like the rival that all teams sort of pip themselves against, sort of thing. So we walked away from a home game against those with 3 wins that day, and that was pretty amazing for the girls. Everyone's pretty up and about for that to have happened. So I think that junior system's doing really, really well, and there's still plenty of growth there. There's still plenty of room to move, even with that 17s, and they've had some formidable wins, like 6-0 yesterday against Preston and 10-0 the week before. So they're a bit of a juggernaut at the moment. So yeah, it's definitely a good place to be with those girls. Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, a good place to be, unofficially, we know, we've just heard that half a dozen girls have been selected into Victorian teams. Now, we can't announce that just yet because it still hasn't been officially announced by Football Victoria. But I guess that's an acknowledgement of some of the good stuff that's happening here, some of the good players that are being produced. A lot of that obviously has to come down to coaching. You've coached in the past, you've played in the past, so you know the importance of having quality coaches. And after this, we're catching up with Jake Butler, who's another coach, the coach of the senior women's team, who's been coach of 2 different clubs here in Geelong. But let's go look at the 13s, the 15s and the 17s and the reserves coaches. Here's a chance to sort of talk about some of those coaches phenomenal. And what they've been achieving.
Yeah, they've been I suppose, if you look at how the system's grown, our 17s coach, Nico Nikolovsky, he was been here a few years now. He's been working with that group of players through under 15s into under 17s, so he's got all of that unity there. They're very different coaches. If you look at the 3 coaches from 13s, 15s and 17s, very different coaching styles.
Who are the coaches of the 13s and 15s?
We've got Robert Andrews, who's come on this year for the 13s, and we've got Camilo, who was at the club last year as well, who's moved up from the 13s to the 15s with that playing group as well. So a little bit of familiarity, which is really, really good for the girls, and very different coaching styles. So, they've been able to keep those girls together, and that's, I suppose, why that football department is working so well,
And now we obviously know that the junior girls play on a Saturday. More often than not, the senior women play on a Sunday, although that can vary according to the fixtures. But how important is that then, that integration between the 17s and, let's say, the reserves, or the 17s and the seniors? Some girls obviously play a couple of games on the weekends, but the reserves, let's talk about the importance of the reserves team as far as the development of some of those players that are ready to step up to senior football, but maybe not just 100% ready.
Yes, definitely. So we looked at the start of the year. So Tony Hoax is taken on the reserves again this year, which is fantastic. Another Geelong name.
An institution, isn't
an institution. That's right. So we had a look at the start of the year of how we could sort of emulate maybe an under-20s or a development type of squad with the girls sort of coming out of the under-17s last year that hit top age. And given our women are in the VPL, we don't have that under-20s MPL for them to move into. So we sort of looked at that and how that will work. We didn't retain a lot of those girls. Obviously, they wanted to go and pursue MPL somewhere at a sort of a top age, that under-20s. We've retained a couple of them. They've been fantastic. So transitioning those 17s that those girls that want a little bit more exposure to senior football has been quite easy. So you've got a couple of coaches there that are very mindful of the development of those juniors. You've got an under-17s coach that's very mindful of the future of the club and the future of those players. So we've already had young Ali Walsh from the under-17s play goals last week for us. Unfortunately, Steph was unavailable, so she was fantastic. So we'll look at what's best for those players. We've got to look at their load. The girls for the juniors train 3 nights a week with us. Some of those are still engaging with different sort of academies and programs outside of it, or they might be at Western Heights, finishing school there. So, we have to look at the load, but really important. So maybe, in April we might see a few more girls sort of come through and showcase their skills.
Yeah, it certainly seems like this year has started really, really well on the field. The coaching side of things are done fantastically. Now, a club that plays at any level like this obviously has to have the support of good sponsors. And just looking around, and there's some real blue chip sponsors that have jumped on board with Galaxy this year, notably Viva Energy and now APCO as well, which are absolutely fantastic to have institutions in the local community. But there are lots of other sponsors. Here's an opportunity to sort of give the sponsors a go.
We've got a couple of really amazing. Well, we've got lots and lots of amazing sponsors. Ones that sort of come to mind more recently that have really sort of stepped up the mark to support us. We've got G3PR, which is part of the Hamilton group. Obviously at our level of football, we invite players from overseas, and they've been really fantastic in supporting us finding work for those players as well. We've got Horizon Pools, which is a massive sponsor for the club. They're based in Melbourne, the other side of Melbourne, and saw what the program was about and sort of engaged with us and has been an amazing support of us. We've got P3 Recovery, which is phenomenal, to have a recovery centre that's on board like they are with us. Supporting the club is fantastic.
And we talk, just to interrupt you there, we talk about the professionalism and taking things to an elite level. Having sponsors like that is so important to to develop the players, but in a very, very professional environment.
Yeah. And the gent there, Ben, such a knowledgeable guy, he's I had a chat to him at the start of the year and the information that he just oozes out of him. So when the girls get down there, they can sort of, we've got vouchers that they've given us for the girls to go and do a bit of recovery on their own, but he also has the girls as a group down there, and sort of the information that he gives the imparts on the players is invaluable to to their growth and their future as footballers. I didn't have it when I was 16 or 17 years of age, and I'm sure you didn't.
So lucky.
They've got that information, so it is fantastic that they've got that.
Now, obviously, having good sponsors is important, but also having a good team off the field in the boardroom. Here's an opportunity to give a plug to some of the people on the committee as well. Because,
all the committee.
You're the face of the club, but there's so many people behind the scenes that we don't get to hear about.
I'm sure there's prettier faces in the club than mine. But,
you said it, not me.
Yeah, there's some wonderful people and really passionate people. So Andrew's come on as a VP this year. We've got Corey, who's a parent of an under-13s, has just come to the club, taken on the treasurer role. He's been fantastic at understanding of where we're at with the finances. Sarah has sort of moved. She'd volunteered originally as a treasurer into that role, or voted into that role. But when Corey came along, we thought it best, and she's been fantastic as a secretary. But we've also been able to retain some beautiful people on the committee that are really passionate as well. So Georgie Wright, Georgina, Andrew, Whitelaw. So like having those people around the club that have still got sort of the understanding of, and which is important to understand where the clubs come from. So you got a bit of continuity there as well. And then Steve, who's our coach of the under-17s, he's come on, Nikolovsky, he's come on and sort of taken on that football operations sort of role. So it's really good to have someone with a football head sort of looking after that sort of stuff. And we've got our TD Jen Plante, so they've been working pretty closely, and having a female TD at the club is absolutely invaluable. She's a wonderful asset to the club, and we really enjoy having her around. So it's really good setup, really
and a great team. From all accounts.
Yeah.
We're at Myers Reserve, which is the home ground of Geelong Galaxy, but not for long. Unfortunately, over the off-season, there was a little bit of a split there. And we're not going to go too much into it, apart from, we'll let you say what you can, I suppose, say in front of the cameras. But unfortunately, that has now meant that you're seeking a new home ground. Yeah, has there been any developments with regards to that?
Yeah, we've engaged with a number of different clubs, and, we've got a sunset period at the moment till May. So we've engaged with a few other clubs. I think, just strategically with a new committee, it sometimes happens that that things weren't aligning. So we've had a couple of conversations with a few different clubs, and I'm sure in the near future we'll have a decision that we can educate everyone on.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. That no doubt will happen in the very short term future, because I think it's mid-May or something like that.
Start of May. Yeah.
Well, mate, we wish you all the best.
Just saying that these guys are still being great. So it's all good. We'll find somewhere that sort of suits our strategic plan a bit better, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, awesome, and that's great to hear as well. I think the Geelong football community, we've spoken about this on many occasions, and it is a wonderful community, some wonderful people. And look, sometimes things just don't work out, but that's fine. It doesn't necessarily mean now we have to hate each other or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely.
But it certainly seems that there's some really good months ahead, years ahead for Geelong Galaxy United. And with the president like yourself at the helm, we wish you all the very best, mate. Not just for 2026, but for certainly well beyond after that.
Appreciate it very much.
Good on you.
Thanks for having me.
AARON PETTMAN, the president of the Geelong Galaxy United. When we return, we've got the JAKE Butler, who is the coach of the senior women's team here at Geelong Galaxy United.
EcoDuct is a Geelong-based business which manufactures an environmentally friendly low-profile duct system that is specifically designed for high-rise apartment applications where limited ceiling spaces are common. The innovative duct system is used to exhaust kitchen and bathroom ventilation where there are limited ceiling spaces. The only Australian-made PVC duct supplier in the country, EcoDuct, has full control over its stock and has an unlimited supply to ensure all projects run smoothly. They are 30% cheaper than the imported products and are 100% Australian-made. Made from best environmental practices, their products are made of up to 50% recycled material and is 100% recyclable and compliant to all Australian standards. For more information, call EcoDuct now on 03 5278 5573. That's 03 5278 5573, or visit their website at ecoduct.com.au. EcoDuct are proud sponsors of the North Geelong Warriors Football Club.
Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast, and it's our very, very special Geelong Galaxy United themed episode of the podcast. It's our third for the season. And my next guest is someone who I know very well from a previous coaching stint here in Geelong. He was the previous coach one-time coach of the Geelong Soccer Club, and he's now the senior coach of the Geelong Galaxy United club, JAKE Butler. JAKE, welcome to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
Now, mate, we mentioned that you've coached in the past. You coached Geelong, and now you're coaching Geelong Galaxy United. Let's talk about Galaxy so far. Unfortunately, today when we're recording this interview, it was a 2-0 loss against Clifton Hill, but it was a pretty tough game, and they are a tough opposition.
Yeah, for sure. We knew they were going to be physical, to be fair, and I think we got caught out in the first 10 minutes with that. So a little bit disappointing. I think the first goal was very, very soft. After that, I thought we got into the game quite well. kind of did what we wanted to do, but just couldn't quite execute. Lacked a little bit of quality when we entered that final third for sure. So a little bit disappointing. We tried to push a little bit at the end there. Obviously, changed formation and went a bit more attacking and nearly got some reward. Again, just lacked that little bit of quality, that calm finish or something like that, that last pass. But yeah, disappointed the second goal we conceded from a set piece, so that's disappointing as well. But overall, okay. But yeah, disappointing result for sure.
Yeah. But last week it was anything but. It was a good start, a good win against Ringwood United. Also here at home, so it's 1-0, 1 win, 1 loss at the moment. Early days yet, of course, but the VPLW competition is such a volatile league because each year there's so many personnel changes and you really just don't know what you're up against. And we saw quite a few clubs move up to the NPLW. Some of them dropped down to State League. What's your take on the league so far after 2 rounds? Have you had a chance to look at some of the other teams, whether it's YouTube highlights or practice matches? What are you expecting this year?
Yeah, look, I think, to be fair, this is going to be the best the VPLW has been. I think every single team, if you look at their team lists, they're full of NPL players, and some of them like established NPL players as well. So every single team and every single game is going to be tough. I think everyone will be able to beat everyone, but it's definitely the strongest the comp's been, I think. And from what I've seen from Ringwood and Clifton Hill, that's definitely the case. They were a good team. Ringwood also had really, really good players there, and they were set up really well by their coach. So yeah, it's going to be a very tough league.
Well, the guys at Football Victoria who look after the draw have been very kind to Galaxy. I think it's the first 4 games or 5 games are at home, so it's an opportunity to get a good start. Or is that, on the flip side, are the expectations really high to now get a good start because later in the year you're going to have a lot of games on the road?
Yeah, I wasn't too happy about that, to be honest. Yeah, because if you if you don't bring in the points, then there's a bit more pressure on it in the second round, isn't it? It's always tougher going away. So yeah, when I saw that, I wasn't that happy with it, to be honest. But yeah, look, every game's we approach it the same. We want to win, so yeah, a little bit disappointing. We wanted to try and maximise points here.
Now, mate, you've coached senior men, Geelong Soccer Club at a elite level, at a high level, and now you're coaching senior women at Galaxy, both at an elite level in their respective fields. How do you approach it? Do you approach it in the same way as you're coaching the boys as you're coaching the girls, or do you approach it slightly differently, and how?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and everyone addresses this in their own manner, but look, for me, the standards stay the same, and expectations and what we kind of do remains the same. And like the girls have been fantastic, to be fair, really taking that on board. But definitely with the men, obviously they watch a lot more football. Their life a lot more focused around football than the female sort of players. So yeah, definitely have to tailor training a little bit to adapt to all situations. Whereas in the men's game, you can put them in a scenario they kind of know. They've been there, done that sort of thing, and probably not as much in the women's game. So yeah, you've got to really be a bit more detailed in trainings. But in terms of standards, and that's always the same.
Now, I'd sort of seem to think, and just as an observer, you go to a men's game, and if they've lost the game, it's the end of the world. They've taken it really badly. If they won, they're celebrating like they've won a World Cup. There's a lot more emotion. There's a lot of passion, but there's a lot of swearing and a lot of testosterone. Whereas with the women, it's a different sort of a game, or is it? Is it completely different in the change rooms in their approach towards the game?
Definitely in the change rooms, it's different. You don't get that same sort of passion and the pressure that the players put on themselves. That sort of, you can really feel that when you're in it. So definitely different. But on the field, like their coaching staff today were pretty boisterous. I don't know if you heard, but and the girls, crazy dude. The girls get stuck into each other as well. So on the field, once that whistle goes, they're all about it. But definitely the vibe off it, and that's.
And as a coach, do you then approach that in a different way? Do you have to kind of explain yourself a lot more? Do you have to kind of justify moves and things like that? Whereas with the men, you probably wouldn't. It would be just like it'd be taken for granted. I'm the coach. This is my decision. Or how do you manage that?
Yeah, look, when you make decisions, you just got to inform the players as well. If a player misses out, they kind of need to know why. You need to tell them what you want from them, what more they can do. So yeah, definitely just bring it down in detail to them. That's individual chats, little things like that. So yeah, a lot more in terms of that, one-on-one stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that, and that's a really good lesson for coaches of female teams, whether they're female coaches or male coaches. It's that approach, how you go about it, because I've seen too many coaches at junior level. They kind of approach it in the same way, and you get some girls in tears, and they just don't understand why that's the case, but it is the case, and you do have to look at it different ways. Now, having an assistant like Ryan Horrocks, who's very, very experienced in the women's field here in Geelong. He was the coach of Galaxy last year, and he's also been involved with Geelong Rangers and Lara United. How important is it having someone like himself and his father, Tony, who's the reserves coach as well, part of that coaching network or coaching core, if you like, here at Galaxy?
Yeah, it's made life a lot easier, to be fair. They've obviously been around the women's game, as you said, for a long time, so they're quite experienced in how to deal with what we just spoke about. So it's been great having them around, and yeah, we just sort of pick each other's brains a little bit if we need to. And yeah, I've noticed that they really have tailored their way of coaching to the female stuff, like what we just spoke about. So yeah, that's been great for me as well to bounce off that, because I've predominantly been in the men's game. So yeah, it's been a good mix.
Yeah, and look, and we talk about the competition in the VPL1, and there's some NPL players, and some of those clubs are desperate to get into the NPLW division, and they've got money. They've got lots of money. Obviously, here in Geelong, we don't have that issue. We don't have or that luxury, I suppose. We have to rely a lot more on generating our own players, developing our own players, and look, judging by the juniors, how they're doing really, really well at the moment. How do you go with the younger players, those players that are on the cusp of senior football, and they've got great talent, but they're maybe not quite there yet?
Yeah, the junior program here is flying at the moment, and the under-17s especially have got some really talented players. It's just a shame we don't have the under-20s NPL team here.
Yeah, is there talk of that eventually happening down the track, and is it just purely a case of just not enough quality at the moment and you'd spread it too thin? Is that the reason?
I think the quality and the numbers are there. It's just obviously you have to be in the NPL to get that under-20 spot.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the sticking point. So it's a bit of a bridge too far, almost from the 17s to the senior PPR stuff. But in saying that, I actually believe a lot of those players are capable, and definitely we're going to be introducing that throughout the year and giving a lot of chances to those that are performing really well at that level.
Awesome. And talking about experience and knowledge and that, Emily Sutcliffe, former captain, and she's such a experienced person, is also in the coaching side of things. Having her there still at the club, that must be absolutely fantastic. Who are some of the other players in the leadership group as well that some of the younger players look up to?
Yeah, I mean, Em's been fantastic. Obviously, she's got a fantastic CV when it comes to football. So having her in and fit as well is a massive bonus for us. We've also got the likes of Jade Feeks, who's a Geelong girl that's been playing NPL that we brought back in. She's been fantastic. And then we've got a few others, Mona Enza, Maddie Kapalika, Layla, that have all sort of been in the NPL system as well. So we've recruited quite well in terms of that. And
you mentioned Layla, that's your daughter, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you find that? Or how does she find that out? Dad's coaching her, not at a junior level, but at an elite level. Is it a bit different? Is it a lot harder than, say, coaching them at a junior level?
Yeah, she hates it. I'm probably too hard on her. And I sort of use her as like a scapegoat sometimes. It's a bit mean, so I've always got to flicker a little bit of pocket money or something like that.
Layla, if you're watching this, your dad's basically admitting that he's in the wrong. No.
So yeah, it is quite difficult, but I told her she had to come here and prove herself, and then she's got nothing.
Yeah.
So it's worked out well.
Yeah, I'm sure kids are just in the end very, very appreciative, very grateful. And speaking of kids being appreciative and grateful, these days it just seems to me that the young players, the young elite players, have got so much that probably generations before them didn't have, and especially in the female side of things. We spoke to Aaron, and he mentioned some of the sponsors as well with regards to recovery, professional recovery, and all of those allied health services as well. How much emphasis do you put on that? The physiotherapists, the recovery sessions at pools and things like that, the strength and conditioning coaches, not just the football side of things, but everything else that is involved as part of elite football.
For sure. And something that's very important, for a squad going forward, playing 22 to 26 sort of games. It's very much needed, and that's definitely something the club needs to improve a little bit. We do have it, but probably not to the level that we need it. So that's definitely, we've been talking about that for a while now, that we need to improve, and the club's really working hard to try and implement that properly. And also, like, if you go and watch an NPL game, you'll see how much support staff and things like that they
absolutely.
have. So we're a little bit underhand in that regard. But the new board and Aaron, as you mentioned, now are all about it and trying to do the right thing. So yeah, the future's looking good.
Fantastic. On that note, mate, we wish you all the best for this season, and certainly for 2026 as far as Geelong Galaxy United is concerned, but also personally as well. It's great to have you back in Geelong coaching at senior level. We need players ex-players like you, and people and coaches like yourself. So it's great to see you back on board.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Good on you. That was Jake Butler, coach of the Geelong Galaxy United senior women's team. When we return, we'll be chatting to one of the players who also has a role in the administrative side of things as well, Monica D'Alessandro. She'll be joining us after this break. And welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. Our final guest for tonight is, we've got someone who's on the who's part of the playing group here at Galaxy, but she's also involved behind the scenes with the administration of the club, Monica D'Alessandro. Monica, welcome to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Tonch. Thanks for having me. I'm good, thank you. Yeah.
No, a real pleasure having you. You've been on the football scene here as a player, as an administrator for many years, and you're telling me off air you've really seen the rise of women's football, particularly at an elite level like Galaxy, over the last couple of decades, since when you were a little kid playing junior football to now playing senior football. How would you describe that? Is it, being personally involved as a player, is it an exciting kind of era at the moment in women's sport to just see it really rising and going to another level?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a huge rise in women's football and girls' interest, and I've seen that across the last 2 decades in Geelong, going from juniors, where I was involved in the first ever under-14 girls team, to now, people are fighting for spaces to actually play, and it's super competitive. So the women's game in Geelong has come a really long way, and we've seen that, I think, through the juniors that are coming up through the ranks, strengthening those, under 14, 16, 18 groups, and then actually coming into seniors and starting to push in to that age group as well. And so our playing pool across the region is actually getting really competitive.
And Galaxy as a destination club as well. I mean, highest ranked club in the women's sphere, playing at one level below NPLW. And once upon a time, Geelong Galaxy was playing in the NPLW, and we want to get there as quickly as possible. But and the juniors are also playing at the elite level and doing very well. We spoke to AARON PETTMAN earlier, the president, about how well the juniors are doing this year. Does that help? Does that help the fact that, girls can play at a very high level and they don't need to go down to Melbourne like what they needed to do so in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been probably made the biggest difference, really. We've got a pathway here in Geelong for girls to play at the elite level, and not have to travel down the highway. I mean, when I was growing up, I had friends that used to catch the train down to Melbourne at the age of 14, and just to make training sessions. And, now we've actually got a group of players here in an incredible club that are able to provide that. And I think that's been the biggest difference. We're really seeing these junior teams coming up really strong the last couple of years, and they are pushing into our senior ranks now. And so, yeah, it's I think a matter of sooner rather than later as to when we finally get back into that NPL senior squad.
Now, last week we had the coach of the Lara United senior women's team, Steve DeCunto, and he touched on the grading, the local grading of the competition here. He goes, he doesn't like it. A lot of the girls don't. There seems to be a lot of score blowouts, but at the moment it seems to be like a necessary evil. What more do you think can be done, at least locally at community level, to drive that next wave of players that could potentially play at a high level? Do we need to? I don't know. Like, what do you think? What does Geelong football need at the moment, as far as women's the side of things, to take it to another level?
I can't comment too much on the grading aspect because I haven't experienced it myself, but I have heard a lot about it, and it's definitely quite controversial. I think community in Geelong is probably the most powerful thing. So when you've got a community at the local level and the elite level that are all banding behind each other.
Glad you'd say that. Yeah.
I think
I
think that is probably the most powerful aspect of, almost bringing those local clubs together along with our state league clubs and, Geelong Galaxy at the VPL, NPL pathway. So,
because if you're going to have a pool and you're going to have an increasing pool of elite players, they got to come from somewhere, don't they?
Yeah, that's exactly
and
right.
If you've got a good mini Roos junior setup at community level, and girls are being introduced to the sport, as are boys as well, and then there are always going to be those ones that just do it for fun and social, but then there's that fraction, a small fraction, that want to take it to another level, and what we're saying is we need that. We need a strong foundation at grassroots level, and then eventually the best of the best will move to a higher level, and hence they're going to go to clubs like Geelong Galaxy if they're female players. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what we hope. So I think, in Geelong, we're a community in Geelong. It's a big region, but it's it's a small community. Everyone knows everyone, and I think that we need to celebrate what we've actually got here. So when you've got junior kids that are coming up in the ranks and then they start to make it into that top tier, it should be celebrated to pass them on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's turn our attention to off the field matters. And this is what I love, chatting to people like yourself. You play, you're a footballer, but also you're willing to put back into the sport. You're willing to put back into the club by getting involved, the administration side of things. What's your role, and what do you focus on when you're not playing on the pitch?
Yeah, so I'm a senior player rep basically for our committee for Galaxy, and my role at the moment is to be a bit of a conduit between players or the playing group and the committee, but also to make sure that we've got a playing perspective in the committee, so it's fresh, I suppose, and not just having administrative people who are sort of behind the scenes, not necessarily understand what's happening out on the pitch. So trying to make decisions that are made a bit more relevant.
Now, that is a really important thing to talk about, because a lot of clubs are sort of hamstrung by finances. So they look at dollars and cents and how to save money, or they're well-intentioned parents who get involved because their kids are involved and so they want to get involved, but they might not necessarily really understand the vibe that's happening on the pitch or in the dressing room. That's where you come in, correct?
Yeah. So I try and sort of, I suppose, provide a bit of a grounding presence to sort of go, okay, well, what about the players? Where is this going to fit in for all of us? And just focus on, I guess, our big picture, and our core practice, which is playing and which is female football.
And what about the players themselves? Do they appreciate having someone like yourself who's able to represent them in the boardroom, but at the same time you're able to come back and give the board's perspective or the committee's perspective to them so that they can buy into the vision, I guess, for want of a better word?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, there's a certain aspect of it where they know that things are just happening behind the scenes. They've got a representative in there and they don't have to worry too much about stepping in, and they can just focus on football, which is what they do.
Has it been smooth sailing, or have you sometimes been caught in the middle of two warring factions?
It's been okay so far. It's been okay so
Touch
far,
wood.
but I'm very, touch wood, I'm very aware of that potential issue. So
Yeah, no, awesome, mate. We wish you all the very best for the year ahead and for all your dual roles at the club. It's great to see footballers getting involved off the field as well, and I guess you're a shining example, not for just people here at this club, but people at in the wider football community. So, Monica, well done on that. Wishing you all the best for 2026.
thank you so much.
Monica D'Alessandro from the Geelong Galaxy United Football Club. Fantastic speaking to her. We're going to take a break, and after this short break, we'll be winding up tonight's episode. Tonight's very special Geelong Galaxy United themed episode of the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. Don't go away, folks. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. Big thank you to Geelong Galaxy for being our featured club tonight on our club episode podcast. They are amongst three clubs, Surf Coast Football Club and Bell Park Sports Club as well, who have really supported the show so far this year. It's not too late for the rest of you clubs to jump on board the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. We'll be back next Monday night, usual time of 8 p.m. Until then, have a great week. Good night.